Sventashi! Sventashi show! Kuhisari!
I really think this was a bad idea.
Nonsense, sister. We came here for a purpose, remember? For our people. For our mother.
Oh yeah? Did you expect to get a wound as bad as that?
Hey, it's just a scratch. I was knighted for a reason.
A foolish reason? That title has made you more suicidal than brave.
Hey, don't give up yet. Surely there can't be much more of them now.
Brad, we're fucking dying here. Just look at your leg. Look at me. My spells are spent. I can't do shit if we face another one of those monsters. If I hadn't enchanted that last one, you'd have no head. We're in too deep in this shithole.
Hey, listen now, Sherry. We can't let emotions consume us. Remember our sovereign duty to—
Piss off with your chivalry. We're going to die here. Oh, God. What was I thinking? If I'd just left on that ride in Saltmarsh.
Wait. Sister. Look over there. In that clearing. Light.
Where? Yes. Light. So there is a way out. Oh, thank the gods.
Sherry, no! We should tread with care.
To the 9 hells with your care. Where was your care before we went diving into this death trap? Say what you will, Brad, but I'm going home. With or without you. What in hells is that? Whoa! Who are you?
At last, my children, welcome home.
Productions presents The Tales of Saltmarsh, an original Dungeons & Dragons audio drama, written by Adam Ragnarsson, directed by Adam Ragnarsson and Bjorn Max.
The air was filled with the sweet, sickly stench of blood and the suffocating smell of smoke, which clawed at his throat. Around him, he saw bloodied bodies strewn everywhere. All he heard were the screams of panic, terror, and the sound of clanging steel and distant explosions. He dared to gaze above, only to be greeted by a crimson sun that bled its light through the crevices of the clouds, black as night. Despite surviving this long, he was drunk with fatigue, and panic had total control of his body. Here and there, he heard a shrill scream of agony that made him grip his greatsword to the point his knuckles turned white. Tripping over a carcass, he fell to his knees, his face staring at his reflection in a puddle of bloodied mud water. He looked the same as he had the night before. Weathered splint mail, his many melee weapons still strapped to his back and sides, and his dark shoulder-length hair and stubble was still as he last recalled appearing. He hadn't been in this place long, but the reflection of his amber eyes scared him. He stared at the water, and madness stared back. He felt his mind scream in despair as he took one more look around the hell that choked his eyes. A hell he'd once called home. Then he heard a voice. Not a scream for help, not a death cry, but a familiar voice. A female voice. It called his name. It called for Tenebris Nox. He looked ahead and saw a shimmering white light. That was where the voice was coming from. That was his escape. Tenebris, in a fit of frantic hope, scrambled up and ploughed across the bodies towards the light. As he drew nearer, the voice also got closer, and the sounds of death became distant. Tenebris. Tenebris.
Tenebris. Tenebris, you plastered idiot!
What? Where? Oh. Ugh.
The tall, broad-shouldered man, in tattered splint armor, awakes, bleary-eyed, to find himself in a bed of haystacks, permeated by half-empty bottles. He blinks his eyes several times, to be greeted by a familiar, lithe, pale drow with judging blue eyes and short black hair tied in a top knot. Fully clad in bronze chainmail and spiked leather armor, she stands imperiously above him with an indifferent expression and the butt of her glaive prodding against his shoulder.
At last, Captain Ale of Oakhurst Stables has awoken.
Oh, hey, knock it off. Not so loud, Marathi.
Oh, I do apologize. Whilst you were sleeping here in your drunken stupor, dreaming of 1,000 harems, Mary had been job searching for us. No thanks to you, of course.
Uh-huh. And what have you been doing that's so noteworthy while she's been doing that? Bitching to everyone about how cool your goddess is?
Have a care. One day you may rue those words when she walks our world once more. Besides, I needn't assist her. That half-breed knows how to get a deal.
Still salty that a half-elf's our leader, of course.
She's not my leader. I follow only Lolth.
Uh-huh, so you say all the fucking time. So she got anything?
Yes.
And?
And you need to get ready. It's after dawn, and we finally leave this miserable village with haste. Oh, and take this.
What is it?
Bluebell and ginger fragrance. You stink of ale and manure.
With Tenebris dawdling in tow, the two walk towards the exit of Oakhurst, a small human village centered around the swamps and dense trees of the outer Dreadwood, and a 2 days' march from the city of Saltmarsh, where they had originally been residing. Just off the road of the village exit stand two individuals. Miri Strepton, a half-elf employed as an inquisitor by the Saltmarsh Guard, and a freelance private detective who'd originated her profession in the military city of Seaton. She wears dark brown and black leather straps that are enveloped by a black hooded velveteen cloak. She is a slim figure with a light complexion, long brown flaxen hair, and a serious face with dark green eyes that always seemed to question wherever she looked. Standing next to her is a stockily built dwarf with short ginger hair and a braided goatee. Although he wears gleaming splint mail and has a great axe slung over his back, the many spell scrolls strapped across his armor and the large spell book that is sheathed to his side show he is in fact also a wizard as well as a fighter. Lacus Altum is an aspiring hydromancer from Saltmarsh, previously under the employ of the town's wizard, Keladek the Unspoken, a cruel man who treats his workers poorly, even when their efforts prove fruitful. He has now quit his service from the cruel wizard and joined Miri, Marathi, and Tenebris in their adventuring work. Miri and Lacus had known each other formally from past quests together, but they were still getting to grips with the new exotic pair, both of whom had obscure pasts. Marathi claimed to be the chosen champion of Lolth, a goddess worshipped by many from the realm of the Underdark. She would frequently state that she had been blessed at youth with visions by her goddess to scour the surface and gather a loyal army and march them into the Underdark to crush the drow of Menzo Barenzan, whom she claims to be tainted by the demon goddess of fungi, Zulk Dmoy. She is not shy about stating her reasons for being in Saltmarsh, and had been quick to pique the attention of the town guard. The drow was not aware that Miri had been assigned to keep her under surveillance should she try to gather a cult. As for Tenebris, little was known about him, and he shared his background only when under the influence of ale. They had first met him with Marathi after coming from an expedition in an allegedly haunted house near Saltmarsh, on the promise of treasure and hidden artifacts. But alas, both had returned empty-handed and disappointed. Tenebris claimed often and loudly that he was an angel and had celestial blood in his veins, but his lust for alcohol, women, and fighting conveyed doubt, especially from the drow, who was quick to mock him whenever he brought it up. Despite their unique personalities, they were proficient warriors, and the town council had allowed them to remain as long as they kept their imperfections from disrupting the peace. Together, the dwarf and the half-elf patiently watch as Marathi haughtily walks towards them, with the groggy Tenebris lagging behind.
Are we ready to move out?
In a sec. Is he alright? He looks a bit pale.
Tenebris? Oh no, he was quick to find the village alehouse last night and drink it dry, but he'll come round.
Can you all quit shouting? This elf says you got something, Mary. Care to share?
Well, here's a briefing. Carowinu Krill, the owner of the Oakhurst General Supplies, and the richest lady here, is offering a reward of 300 gold pieces to each of us for the safe return of her children. Our recently knighted son, Sir Bradford, and her aspiring witch daughter, Sharwin.
So a girl needs rescuing. That's my kind of job. You got any leads?
Lady Sharwin and Sir Bradford were last spotted entering a sunken fortress 7 miles from here. Lacquers was able to recall such a fortress existing in these parts.
Aye, the Sunless Citadel. No one knows for sure what the Sunless Citadel once was, but legends have read a hint that it served as a retreat of an ancient dragon cult. But then something happened, a cataclysm that forced it to the ground, and it has since been abandoned.
A simple job. Go in, get the kids out, and come back for the gold.
Actually, no. See, it was abandoned, but since last harvest, a goblin tribe from the Inner Dreadwood has moved in and taken the fortress for their own. They have since been trading strange fruit to the villagers here, which is an odd thing for goblins to do. But Lady Ukrill tells me something else. Months ago, a strange man came to the village trying to trade the very same fruit the goblins have, claiming it had supernatural healing powers. Sounds like a beggar from what she describes to me. Raggy robes, scraggly beard. But his accent was foreign. He wasn't from these parts. I believe him having the same fruit as the goblins isn't a coincidence. Moreover, since trading, the goblins have also been spotted in skirmish parties around the village, most likely assessing its defences, preparing for an attack. Lady Ukrill believes their children went to eradicate the threat before the goblins made the first move. And honestly, I think so too. The night before they left, they ransacked the back store for any valuable equipment. Ropes, potions, you know the stuff. They also borrowed some weapons from the local smithy. They swore to return last week, but have since not returned. This will be no ordinary search. If my suspicions are correct, things may get messy when we get there.
Goblins are a disgusting, aberrant species. Their blood on my glaive will only make my goddess smile with glee as I rid her world of their wasteful existence.
Whatever floats your boat, pal. Do we get paid if we find them dead? If they went into a goblin hovel and ain't returned, chances we find them alive, pretty small. We could have wasted that journey for nothing, just like that haunted house mission.
I hope it doesn't come to that outcome, but yes, she'll need proof that they're deceased before payment. They each left with a signet ring on their fingers. That'll be evidence enough.
Great stuff. Let's get our bounty.
Not so fast. The fortress is a difficult place to find, but there's an ancient road named, well, Old Road, funnily enough. But it's hardly ever used. Who knows what lingers around it. I'll take the elm and watch out for any goblin scouting parties. Or for the siblings, you never know. You can follow once the signal the path ahead is clear.
Sounds like a plan. Shall we move out?
Throughout the journey, the half-elf darts from tree to tree 100 feet ahead of the rest of the party, as she scans the environment during their march to the Sunless Citadel. The overgrown old road winds through rocky downs, near stands of old-growth oak, and past abandoned farms. The 7-mile journey is arduous enough to make the group take small breaks and make camp in the abandoned farmhouses. The old road passes to the east of a narrow, deep ravine and runs for several miles in either direction, but it widens at the point where it mostly intersects the old road. At the road's closest approach to the cleft, several broken pillars jut from the earth where the ravine widens. 2 of the pillars stand straight, but Most lean atop sloped earth. Others are broken, and several have apparently fallen into the dark depths. A few similar pillars are visible on the opposite side of the ravine. A sturdy knotted rope is tied to one of the leaning pillars on this side of the ravine. Judging by its good condition, the rope couldn't have been tied there any longer than 2 or 3 weeks ago. From the edge of the ravine, older and weathered handholds and footholds can be seen carved into the cliff faces. These are goblin carved. The party descends via the rope to be met with the face of their destination. The subterranean citadel, though impressive, seems long forgotten, if the lightless windows, cracked crenellations, and leaning towers are any indication. All is quiet, though a cold breeze blows up from below a sunken entrance, bringing with it the scent of dust and a faint trace of rot. Marathi grimaces.
Zugidmoy is here. I'm certain of it. Of course, her pathetic servants would be goblins of all species.
Shh, I heard something.
Can't hear a thing. What did it sound like?
It was a noise from down that entrance, a yell or a cry of some sort.
Or just a rat.
Perhaps.
Well, only one way to find out.
For once, I agree with him.
After you, mate. I want my old job back.
As the adventurers one by one descend into the mouth of the fortress, they are greeted with a dusty stone gallery. They quickly scramble for their weapons as they see before them across the floor fresh goblin corpses, all with crude spears and daggers embedded in their flesh. They are too recent to have been slain by the missing siblings. As they spread out across the gallery, they one by one discover more bodies that aren't goblins. They are similar in size, but they have burgundy scales, with draconic body features and scrawny muzzles.
Kobolds.
Remarkable. I've never seen one with a naked eye.
Hey, Marie, I'm thinking, if these kobolds give us extra trouble, could we charge the lady double?
Well, if they give us more trouble than the goblins, I suppose it's something to bring up. No guarantees, though.
I don't think that'll be necessary. I know kobolds. They're mostly slaves from where I come. By nature, they are greedy and work for their own ends. But they are more tolerable this way than this goblin scum. Curious. I wonder...
You got a plan in mind, Marathi?
Well, these spears in their guts. The crude blunt make has kobold written all over it. There's a reason They enslaved dwarves in the Underdark, and not kobolds to craft metal. These creatures are evidently at war with each other. What I'm suggesting is perhaps we make an ally of any remaining kobolds we find. They can be reasonable to an extent and for a price. From what Larkus told us, they could be here to reclaim this draconic fortress for themselves, and since we have no need of the fortress, and they may have answers regarding our 2 missing humans, we could come to an arrangement. I just pray they can speak common.
That's not a bad idea, but we'll stay cautious until we're certain we can trust them.
You're not so callow to think I'm suggesting friendship, are you? We will use them, and when they outdo their usefulness, we throw them away. Simple.
Hey, over here! Larkus and I found something!
Shh!
Check this out. We found it on this goblin. It's a weird-looking apple. Looks fresh, but what are all these black veins all over it? Is this the same fruit the goblins and the guy were bartering with the locals?
From their description, I believe so. They were right, it is peculiar. Like an apple, but evil.
An evil apple? Trust our half-breed to say something so ridiculous.
Marathi, there's no need for the insults.
Neither are your silly conclusions.
And here I thought we'd be watching a catfight. We got trouble coming our way.
No, they've got trouble coming their way. Loth guide my blade today.
The drow marches ahead of Tenebris and Lacus to face the darkness beyond the gallery, where the noise of gruesome creatures echoes closer. She utters a dark incantation in her native drow tongue, and her glaive begins to profusely bleed with a dark purple liquid, now blessed by the dark power of Loth. Tenebris, greatsword in hand, flexes back his shoulders and jogs to get in line with Marathi.
Hey, Marathi, go dark, yeah?
As if you even had to ask.
As Lacus utters dwarven words to himself to summon icy missiles, readying them at the darkness ahead, Miri puts her hood up and hides herself near the walls of the gallery, and like Lacus, readies her sling, aiming it at whatever bursts out to greet the drow and the human. Wrinkled, leathery, swab-skinned creatures with wild yellow eyes and scrappy cloth, armed with simple, brutal weapons, burst from the darkness to bare their sharp yellow teeth and screech guttural yells of battle. Their front lines are derailed from their wild charge as arcane missiles pulverize their flesh and send them to the ground. The lines behind them don't falter, instead jumping over the fallen and throwing themselves at Marathi and Tenebris. The large man expertly decapitates 3 in one swoop and slices through another 4 as the grinning drow impales one on her glaive and with one free hand unleashes a bolt of force at another group, killing them on impact.
Watch me now, Lolth. Watch me spill their blood.
Lacus, again!
On it. York.
Hey, hey, hey! Looks like they're already falling back. Way to go, WizKid.
We should press the attack. Slake our blades in their blood.
Easy, Marathi, that could be what they want. Regroup for a counterattack.
Regroup? Goblins? Do you imply that these creatures think? All they know is to run and kill or to run and flee. We should kill them now whilst they swarm about in confusion like the insects they are.
I actually agree with Miri. Best if we are more ready for them next time and not have to wait for them to find us.
What's this? Is the ale making you go soft, Tenebris? And here I thought you had a talent for killing.
No, I like fighting, not killing. Besides, we're not getting paid to kill these things, just to get the girl.
And the guy, remember?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, y'all can deal with that. I just got my eyes on the prize.
Well, keep your eyes here. We need him. We need to be vigilant now. We've come here to the entrance to be welcomed by a score of screaming goblins, and I don't think it'll end there. I think there may be many more.
You think so? I do wonder what part of you thought that. The elf side or the other? Oh, do put that frown away. It was a joke. Not a very good one, I admit, but one that masks a lot of anger when you make your stupidly obvious deductions.
Are all drow as abusive as you?
My dear, I am the nicest one you'll ever meet. Now shall we crack on? After you.
There is something unhealthy with this group.
Nah, pal, it's just Marathi against, well, the rest of the world. Come on, let's catch up before we lose them.
With Miri scouting ahead, the others follow closely, lest they lose their way in the dark, abandoned corridors of the fortress.
Until next time, in the Tales of Saltmarsh.